Welcome back to Mastering Menopause. I have an exciting announcement for you guys. So it has been crazy with the photo shoot and with travel back into my routine, and so really thankful for that. But I just want to give you an update on what happened during the prep to get ready for this photo shoot. I think I filled you in on I was making good progress, losing as predicted about 2 pounds a week, just a little bit over, and I did have some refeeds. That went well, and then it was time for the photo shoot. Photo shoot week, we instituted, we being Coach Megan, Catalyst Coach Megan, we did a water protocol. Basically, I was super hydrating at the beginning, and then I was having less water as we got towards the shoot. On Friday, I started taking diuretic pills called Expel 3 a day. The goal was to pull the water out, and so still going low carbs all the way up to the shoot. But my original goal was to be 125. And then my stretch goal was to be 122. I actually hit my stretch goal, but for the shoot, I'm pretty sure that I dropped another 2 pounds of water weight, right? So not actual like fat, just water weight. I came in fairly lean for the photo shoot, had a great time. I love my photographer. He's in Cape Cod. This is the third photo shoot that I've done with him. I loved my makeup and hair, but the makeup was amazing. I used Cape Cod Glam, and she did a great job. All of her products were like super high end. I was like, wow, this is really nice. So I was really pleased with those results. And then literally as soon as I was done with the shoot, we packed up our bags and drove 4.5 hours up to New Hampshire. And then I was in New Hampshire for a few days, and then went to Tampa, Florida to visit my parents, which thank God I did. And maybe if you see my social media, you'll know why. And then finally I got home. So it was like a long time. And then when I got home, like the next day, and it's like watching a train wreck, right? You shouldn't be hopping on that scale. You got no business. So I will say I have no idea how many calories I was eating during that week. I wasn't tracking at all. I'm just like, I'm trying to get in my protein. But to be honest, I just wasn't concerned with it at all. Definitely had some cocktails and some carbs and some cheesy dishes. So I have no idea how many calories I was eating. And sure as shit, I get on the scale that, when I get home on Saturday. So the next day I was at 128.6, and I was like, I knew it would be, right? And so for me, travel equals digestion issues, like absolutely. And so my digestion was jacked up, and I knew that would come down. I was projecting to come in around 125 after all was said and done. I don't want to maintain that like photo shoot weight, which was at 122. I'm comfortable at 125. And now I keep teetering between 124.2 and then 123. I'm eating 2,000 calories. So I'm expecting that to go back up. But if not, I'm just staying here for 2 weeks at the 2,000 calories. If I'm still losing weight, which I really shouldn't be, to be honest, then I'm going to have to increase my calories. But I'm expecting it to level out, to be honest. So that was that. I just got the proofs back yesterday. I am so pleased with those. And now we're just maintaining at this point. I love like the way that my body looks right now. I had some bathing suits that I had bought for a trip to Mexico, and I was definitely not in the best shape like when we went on that trip. And so now I have those bathing suits and they look great. And really my goal is just to be able to go to the gym wearing a crop top. So I have been doing that. I don't know. It's silly. It's vain. It's absolutely vain. I know that. But that's like my litmus test. That's my goal. That's what I want. And it helps to have a goal, right? Because this was aggressive. We're talking triple digit calories. And if I didn't have that goal of like, and publicly declare that as well, like I'm doing a photo shoot in 8 weeks, like that very much kept me single-minded and motivated to go throughout. And also this whole process did as well. It was motivating as fuck to be losing those 2 pounds a week. And I had some hefty refeeds. After the first 12 days, I had a 3-day refeed, and then I had 3 more after that, and then I had a little mini one. It was like more of a mental health day than anything, like right towards the end. I needed it right before the shoot. I would say, I think it was like 10 days or so before the shoot. The process was definitely interesting, and it really just came down to just paring my fats down. Yes, calories were low, but I had to prioritize lean proteins and cut out those higher fat foods and really prioritize fiber, vegetables, and fruits. And so I will say this wasn't a health phase, but it actually really was, because everything that I was eating was very healthy. Prioritizing vegetables and fruits, my hair and my eyelashes grew, and so did my nails. And I do pretty well in that area anyways, but everything got supercharged. My skin totally cleared up. And my digestion was so much better by eliminating alcohol and some of the crap. And so that's the thing, right? So even though I was at between 800 and like 950 calories, where do we typically, if you're eating about 1,500 calories, yes, you're going to have that base of those calories anyways. And then what do you fill in the rest with? Crap, right? Like I was doing popcorn and chocolate and wheat thins and cheese, and then more cheese, and then alcohol, right? That's a big one. Snacks and cookies. Well, I don't eat cookies, but chocolate for sure. Dove minis, love those, and pieces of chocolate. So when you pare it down, like you have to be intentional. This was absolutely a pattern interrupt. This was a hard reset. And like even going back, I will admit, I did buy like those little mini bottles of wine, and I had 4 of those bottles. I kept having one after the other on the way to New Hampshire, because I'm like, I'm going to have a drink. I may or may not have told my husband that I'm an absolute fucking delight. So yeah, I did have that, but it wasn't like I have to have chocolate or I'm going to have a donut. Like sometimes you see that with like bikini competitors, and they're just like crushing sweets and stuff like that. Like I just didn't have that. And we did go out for a meal, but it wasn't like, oh my God, like I'm so excited to have this. Going back, like again, as we reintroduce foods, I didn't do it the healthy way. I was traveling. It was really hard. I did bring my protein powder, so there was that in my yogurt. So now I just don't have the cravings for those foods that I was having pretty regularly. Again, like all the stuff that I just mentioned. So I'm not buying it. I don't need it. I don't have it here in the house. And I've limited like a lot of my fat consumption on my own. And so right now I'm tracking, I'm eating I set my goal for 60 grams. I'm probably going to adjust that a little bit more, or maybe just add a little bit. I don't know. I'll wait another week, to be honest, to see like really what's happening with weight. If I'm continuing to lose, then I'll make that bump up in the calories. But back to my original point was just limiting. I'm having like half portions of stuff, and I'm totally fine with it. So instead of a whole serving of yogurt, then I'm having half a serving. So I will say one thing that was like so good were my deviled eggs. So I love boiled eggs, but there's a lot of fat in a whole egg, right? And I don't really love cooking up egg whites. What I was doing is I'd take a egg, cut it in half, toss out the yolk, and then put cottage cheese in there. And so I would do that with 2 eggs. And I'd make little deviled eggs. And sometimes I put some like scallions on there or get really fancy with them. But that was such a great little snack, and so low in fat because it was just from the low fat cottage cheese. And so that was a great hack of getting in my protein and just limiting fats. What else? I think at the beginning I was doing the konjac noodles just because like for volume, but I think that was only like the first 2 weeks. I was definitely having a lot of tuna with half a serving of cottage cheese. Chicken thighs. That was my go-to. I did not have one chicken breast throughout this whole entire process. For me, if I'm going to have chicken breast, it has to have sauce, it has to have cheese, it has to have carbs. I don't know. I just was like, you know what? I'm going to do this without chicken breast. And I did it with chicken thighs. I will say 99% fat-free turkey. That was the thing that I ate a lot. Those were the things that helped keep my sanity and helped me be successful. I was not hungry. After the first week, it's very much an adaptation process. You just get used to it, and then hunger hunger just goes away. And so literally there were times I'm just not hungry. Like I don't feel hungry, but I'm going to eat because I have to eat. So a very interesting process. I'm glad that I went through this process, like a longer, extended, aggressive diet. I was hitting up the aggressive dieting calculator every week because I was losing, and so I was having to readjust my caloric intake. And the crazy thing is it went up. So as my fat reduced, oh yeah, we didn't talk about the results, right? So overall, from the very beginning, I lost 16 pounds. Now, that was from the very beginning on April 29th to June 24th on the photo shoot day. 16 pounds. But in reality, it would have been more like that 14 pounds in the 7 weeks. Today, I'm 123.2, but I was hovering around 124, so like a 2-pound maybe regain, which would be expected. I've been eating that first week. I know I was not eating just 2,000 calories. So this past week I've been eating 2,000 calories. So it's crazy how the body can change. And now my body fat percentage is at 22.1%. So that's pretty lean. We're not talking like I have abs, but it's not like I'm chiseled or anything like that. I really don't want to be chiseled. That's not my goal. I'm 57. I think older women tend to look better with a little bit more fat on their bodies. That's just my opinion, okay? It's just my opinion. That used to be my goal in my 30s, was to have rock hard abs, and now I'm over it. So that was a huge change in my body fat percentage, and then obviously my weight. But I think one concern is when you do an approach like this, you're just going to gain it back. And you know what? If you don't change your habits, then you will gain it back. But here I am, I have changed my lifestyle. I've reframed my thinking. I think that's the biggest part. I love to eat. Who doesn't, right? Who doesn't love food? Who doesn't love carbs? I was afraid that I was going to be hungry. I definitely used a delayed eating tactic, and then some days that backfired on me, and I'm like, you know what? This is not going to work for me. I tend to be hungry earlier in the day, and typically I would be eating by 5 or 6 o'clock anyways. Gone are those days when we're going out to dinner at 7 o'clock. If you're going to take me out to dinner at 7 o'clock, I'm going to have something to eat before we go out to dinner. And 8 o'clock, no. That's just not happening. That's just my lifestyle. And so I figured out after the first 2 weeks, this isn't going to work for me. I can't delay my eating until noon because I'm hungry. And so I listened to those cues from my body, and I'm like, all right, we're going to eat. It has really just changed my thinking and then really my attitude about taking an aggressive approach. I think is really rewarding because it is so fast and because you have to be so dialed in on it, but also having grace. There was one day in particular, I'm like, I am starving. I'm going to need more calories today. And I honored that. And it did not mess up my progress. I didn't make up for it the next day or anything like that. So energy was through the roof. That's another thing. That was another benefit as well. It really was an eye-opening process for me. I think very much, I hate to call it a health phase, but it definitely was a healthier way of eating for me, right? Where now I'm taking out some of those foods that weren't serving me anyways. I'm not saying that there's any bad foods. Again, I've always said you can have the foods that you want. I just don't want those things anymore. I get way more enjoyment I love freaking raspberries. Right now they are ridiculous. Plums and peaches and nectarines, they're so good. So I am enjoying those. I don't have to have my chocolate and my sweets. If I'm feeling snackety or want something sweet, then I will have some fruit. So anyways, that was my process. The aggressive dieting calculator helped. As my body fat percentage went down and my weight went down, my calories actually went up, which was crazy. I'm like, why am I getting 50 calories more this week? I'm like, but I'm going with it, right? Because I did exactly what that aggressive calorie calculator said. July 14th, I am opening up a 4-week program using this calculator and putting women through this process. I should say it is open now, right? I'm taking applications because there's definitely going to be some parameters. This is for the woman who is already tracking calories, you're already tracking macros, you know how to do that, and you're just stuck, right? You're working out and you're just like, why isn't this working? This is who this program is for. You would have to commit for the next 4 weeks to tracking. I'm going to set up the calculator to see where your calories will be. I'm expecting, yes, that most women are going to be in the triple digits. I'm giving them the exact same workouts I did to get me through this. Very much shoulder focused, obviously legs, back, but yeah, so it's definitely a little bit of a shoulder focus. Bodybuilding style workouts. Those are done at the gym. And then for any ladies that need adjustments for at home, then I will be doing that. So those are 4 days a week, about 45 minutes. You're going to get those workouts in True Coach. Those are going to be delivered to you. And then this week, I'm working on the macros and then having ascending calories each week. So this is different from the 2-week fat loss protocol that I do with my clients, where they get ascending calories every 3 days. This one, it's going to be ascending calories every single week. And so calories should go up. I don't know. I'm just going to go by what the calculator says, and then have a little consult with the clients, or I should say the participants, on this week and next week. But they're going to have their macros. They're going to have their workouts starting for when they start on Monday. And this week, they're going to get a feed up, just like I did. They're going to have to eat over, just slightly over their maintenance calories. And it's going to have to come from predominantly carbs. Like, they're going to get a big carb hit. Keeping protein probably about 125 to 150 for most of these ladies. I just have to figure out like where to feed up to get the body ready before we actually take away. So this has been such a mind-blowing experience to do that. I had one aggressive refeed. This was 3 days at 2,600 calories. Can you believe this? This was after 12 days of being in a deficit. I actually lost 6 pounds in those first 12 days. Again, a lot of that is water weight, so that was definitely part of it. But it wasn't all water weight. My refeed was 2,600 calories, 450 grams of carbs. That was so fun. And then my other following refeeds were just at maintenance calories, just to bring the carbs up. So we are going to do that, have 2-day refeeds, and then we're just monitoring like how the ladies are feeling and where they're at. The first week, yeah, it's going to be hard. This is very much an adaptation week where, yeah, guess what? You're not doing your usual thing, right? We're going to have to change some things. So that's uncomfortable. That's uncomfortable for the mindset. And so we're definitely I have some modules. I built out all the modules already. And one is like addressing that, like how to be successful with that. You will lose anywhere between 8 to 12 pounds in this 4-week program, right? If you follow this, you will lose between 8 to 12 pounds in 4 weeks. So that is super motivating. But you have to have a solid why too, right? Why do you want to lose 8 pounds? Let's start there. It'd just be nice. Guess what? In week 2, when people are having margaritas on the deck, wouldn't it be nice to have a margarita? Because that's not a strong enough why. You're like, fuck it, I don't care. So what? Who cares? So what? So I'm not going to lose 8 pounds. You really have to have a solid why. Anyways, the registration is open. It is application only. It has to be for somebody who is tracking macros, has experience tracking macros. I can't teach you how to track macros in a week. I just can't. Maybe there will be a future program. I don't know. This is the first time that I've offered this, so I want to see how it goes. I'm actually surprised people are signing up for it over the summer. These ladies are freaking motivated, right? They're like sick of the shit. They're sick of their shit. I think tomorrow's going to be, or tomorrow, because this is Sunday night, I think today's going to be a wake-up call. Is this how the rest of the summer is going to be? Is this how I'm going to feel every single weekend this summer? And is that okay? There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just asking, like, how do you want this summer to play out? This would go until August 10th. And so imagine being 8 to 12 pounds lighter by then. And then I'm thinking, like, we are going to do 2-day refeeds, but I'm thinking a sanity day as well. So that's that. If you are thinking about that, hey, you know what? I think I want to do this. Then I'm doing weekly coaching calls, hype up call on Mondays. I'm going to guide you through this process. I'm going to go through that calculator and set you up exactly for your macros, where they should be each and every week. And then we're just going to be there for support. There's a Facebook group where we can dump all of your wins, all of your frustrations, recipes, and things like that. I'm putting in all the stuff that I had. There was a lot, like I have a lot more tricks up my sleeve that I didn't talk about. Registration link is going to be in the show notes so that you can check that out. Again, it's application only, and registration is closing on 7/11. 7/11, because I need to get you guys set up for that. And so if you sign up like Thursday or Friday, then you're going to have your strategy call with me the week after, which is totally fine. I'm still going to calculate your macros using that calculator, and then I will send you a video showing you like what that looks like, where we're at with those calories, so that you're going to know exactly what to do. And then the modules are already there waiting for you on like, how do you set this up? What are the tips and tricks? Where's the shopping list? There's meal plans. I'm dropping in my exact days where I logged in my Fitness Pal. It's all right there. I'm also putting together, I'm hoping that ChatGPT is going to help me with this, is to create, it's not really a barcode, but where you can just do a quick ad for the meals that I had, like my turkey enchilada meal. My God, that was so good. So tons of protein. If you followed my stories at all, like maybe you saw that. Like I got a lot of comments on that. What is this delicious thing? I think that was topped out at 62 grams of protein. It was super low cal and super delicious. I think it was like 320. I'll have to look again. So I'm updating all that stuff tomorrow and taking calls this week. All right, that's enough. I will come in on Thursday and we're going to talk about this summer, right? What are your expectations for this summer? And then I also have some pretty cool recipes that I'm going to share with you as well, my Ninja Creamy recipes. If you don't have a Ninja Creamy, and maybe somebody wants to give you a gift, then I would definitely ask for a Ninja Creamy, because this is amazing. I'm making high protein ice cream with that, just playing around with different flavors. So good. All right, I will talk to you on Thursday. I hope that you enjoyed your holiday. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.